Not every area in Palm Springs is for everyone. And if you don't know what to look out for, you could make a costly mistake. That being said, I'm going to show you what you need to be out looking for so you don't make that regret or that mistake of purchasing here in Palm Springs. Hi, I'm Bryan Boomershine, your Palm Springs real estate agent. So my first point that I want to bring up is our international airport here in Palm Springs. It's great. I love it. I love having it. There's so many direct flights from many cities during season. Brings in a lot of people, tourism. It's a major catalyst for income for this city. And there is going to be more expansion going on. But my point is that there are neighborhoods on the east side of the airport and a few on the west side, and also more directly to the north, because that's where the planes take off and head west or east, depending on where they're going. And that is going to create some noise and disturbance for homeowners that live in those areas. Now, a lot of people come from cities like Chicago, like I do, and it's like white noise to me. But for certain people that want it to be quiet and not have either airplanes going overhead or hear the noise, it may be a factor where you want to buy in Palm Springs. And here I'm going to show you exactly where on a map this is located in the areas that would be affected, let's say if you're doing your home search. So let's take a look at this. So we're taking a look at the airport right now in the city of Palm Springs. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can see the airport where it's located. So we have the airport located here. By the way, this is the 10. And downtown right here is Palm Canyon Drive and Indian Canyon Drive. So the airport right here, you're going to have neighborhoods to the west side that are going to be affected, obviously along the airport right here. But mostly what's going to get the brunt of the noise and the traffic, of course, is with planes taking off is going to be the north side right here before they turn left to go back east. So these areas here are going to be the most affected. Anything below Ramon is going to be a lot less. You're barely going to hear anything. To the east side, you're going to have this area here, which is basically the Desert Princess in Cathedral City, and you have Ascena right here. Now, again, yeah, I'm just pointing out that if this is something that bothers you in terms of air traffic noise, these are areas that you may or may not want to look at. But a lot of people live here, they love it in these neighborhoods, they're great neighborhoods. So I'm just pointing out factors that could be on your bucket list in terms of this is what I want. I want it to be really quiet. I don't want to be affected by a lot of noise, air traffic, that kind of thing. So these are areas that I would consider to stay away from in here. And we'll actually dive into this more deeply in other videos coming up. But this gives you a general idea of where the air traffic noise will be. Second on the list is wind. So Palm Springs is affected by wind certain times of the year, most notably on the north side, and that's north of Vistachino, which I'm going to show you here. So we're going to talk about the wind exposure here in Palm Springs and what areas are more affected than others. So during actually the spring, March through June, is our windy season in Palm Springs in general. April and May tend to be windier and much more gustier than the other months. But there is wind throughout the year, so generally speaking. But the areas most affected are going to be on the north side of Palm Springs and to the east are going to have a lot of wind compared to central or south Palm Springs. They can get windy every once in a while if there's a storm coming through, but they tend to be very calm and there's, it could be extremely windy to the north, and there's no wind in the south whatsoever. So there's like microcosms throughout even just Palm Springs itself. So in the north side and to the east, these are areas where the homes are going to be most affected. And that's also going to affect how you use your outdoor space, your pool, your patio, and just sitting outside. So that's food for thought for the wind. And let's move on to our next item. So the next item is going to be fee land versus lease land. What is the difference? Actually, there's a big difference. So fee land is land you own. So in California, fee means you own the land. So basically the house and the land are together. You purchase the property, you own both of those. On leased land, you're actually renting the land from a lessor, and you actually own the property. And yes, you do pay property taxes on the property anyway. So with leased land, they're going to vary in terms of what the cost is going to be per month. If it's a condo, it could be $200 a month, or it could be $800 a month if it's a single family home. It really depends. They vary completely all over the board. It's definitely something that a lot of people consider because they're getting a great property. They're paying less in terms of the property is always going to be about, I would say, to 20 to 30% less than if you were buying on fee land or you're purchasing the home with the land. So you're paying that fee, you're paying less for the home typically, or the condo, and then you're paying that lease payment every month to a corporation or a tribe organization that owns that land. So my fourth subject for you to think about is going to be, are you going to be purchasing this home and possibly thinking about renting it out? A lot of people do, and a lot of people are very successful doing it. And it could be a great investment as well, because we have high appreciation rates overall. If you look at the history in California, both coasts typically outperform the rest of the country, and California does particularly. So a lot of people are drawn to the fact of making a purchase. They're going to use the home a little bit, but they're also going to rent it out part of the year. The big thing to think about when you're going to do that is, number one, how much is it going to cost you to furnish and to get all the items that are needed for the rental itself? That's one item. That's one thing in particular. But the other part is, another major one is, where is the property located, in which neighborhood? So right now, Palm Springs has a rental cap on every neighborhood in Palm Springs. So some neighborhoods are way under the cap, and they're like maybe 5% of the homes are being rented out because it's for example, Los Compadres in South Palm Springs has a very low rental rate. It just happens to be a neighborhood where people purchased and they have lived there for years, and there's not tons of turnover. For example, on the north side, there seems to be a lot of rentals in Desert Park Estates, for example, and those are over the 20% mark, which means that you are not able to get a lease to rent that out on a short-time basis for like an Airbnb. You could do 30 days or more, but a lot of people want to do these Airbnbs, and unfortunately, there's a lot of new laws, and Palm Springs has put in licensing and laws in place where they've restricted the number of rentals that can be done in a certain neighborhood. So at the end of the day, it's all about what works for you. If none of these things that I brought up affect how you're going to make a purchase here in Palm Springs, great. But for some people, some of them do matter, actually. And people I know, their agent hasn't told them this area is windy, and then they move into a new home, maybe looked at it on a day where it wasn't windy. and then decided that they went back and they purchased the home and then moved in, and it's extremely windy and they regret it and they end up selling it and they move. So these are things that I think everyone needs to know, whether they affect your personal decision on where you're going to be in Palm Springs. It's a beautiful city. It's a gorgeous place to live. The quality of life couldn't be better here. Again, it's Bryan Boomershine, and I would love to be of service to you. Please reach out to me for your buying and selling needs. I love doing these videos, and I hope that you gain some knowledge by watching this one.